Wait, before you go any further, I have something from the heart. One click from you, just one subscribe costs you nothing, but for us, it could change everything. These stories we share are made with love, with hope, with dreams, and your support keeps them alive. So please hit that subscribe button now. And let's create something unforgettable together. The boardroom was silent except for the soft hum of the air conditioning. Mahogany walls gleamed under recessed lighting, and the long table stretched like a runway of power. At its head sat Victoria Caldwell, CEO of Stratastech, pen poised above a $4.2 billion merger contract that could change the company forever. Everyone in the room leaned forward, breaths held. This was history in the making. And then the door burst open. In stepped a man in faded coveralls, a mop still dripping in one hand, and a stunned security guard chasing after him. "Ma'am, don't sign that deal," he blurted, voice shaky but loud enough to echo in the room. Every head snapped toward him. Some frowned. Others smirked. But Victoria simply froze, pen mitter. The man swallowed hard. "I'm sorry for barging in. I know I'm just a janitor here, but you're about to make a mistake that's going to hurt a lot of people." Her CFO barked, "Get him out of here," but Victoria raised a hand. "Let him speak." The man's name was Daniel Hayes, 34, single dad of an 8-year-old girl named Emma. He'd been cleaning these halls for 2 years, invisible to most. But what he'd seen, what he'd overheard while quietly mopping floors outside conference rooms, had been gnawing at him for weeks. "This merger," he began, "sounds good on paper. But last week, one of the visiting executives from the other company left a call on speaker while he grabbed coffee. He didn't know I was in the hallway. I heard them talking about restructuring, about cutting jobs overseas first, then here, hundreds of people gone. People who've given their lives to this company." The board shifted uncomfortably. "I also heard them say they'd move all production offshore to places with cheaper labor. They called it cleaning house." Daniel's voice cracked. "I know I'm not important here, but I see the faces of the people who lose everything, people who still remember my daughter's name when she visits, people who treat me like a human being." The room was so quiet you could hear the faint drip from his mop. Victoria leaned back slowly, studying him. "You risked your job to tell me this?" "Yes," Daniel said. "Because I'd rather lose my job for speaking up than keep it knowing I stayed silent." Her eyes flicked to the contract in front of her, then to the polished faces of her board. Something in her expression hardened. Without another word, she capped her pen, slid the contract across the table, and said, "Meeting adjourned." The CFO looked stunned. "Victoria, you can't just—" "I can," she interrupted, "and I will." The following week, Stratastech made headlines not for the deal that almost happened, but for doubling down on domestic investment, opening 2 new facilities, and securing every single job. In the press conference, Victoria didn't mention the board, the advisors, or even her own decision-making prowess. She simply said, "Sometimes the most valuable voices in a company aren't the ones at the table. They're the ones cleaning it after the meeting's over." Daniel kept his job. In fact, he was promoted to a role in corporate ethics and oversight. It wasn't glamorous, but it meant he could be there for Emma and help ensure no decision ignored the people who made the company possible. Months later, Emma drew a picture of her dad standing next to a tall woman with short blonde hair and wrote underneath, "My dad saved everyone's jobs." And in a way he had. Because courage doesn't always wear a suit. Sometimes it carries a mop.